The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to All You Can Eat. It is the podcast about deliciousness, whether that's from food or dining out, cooking in, eating at some kind of culinary tourism. It could be wine, it could be spirits. I'm your host, Rob Rosenthal, coming to you live from New York City, New York, on a beautiful day here, May the 30th, 2018. I am really happy to be here and excited about tonight's show. Speaking of New York, I will tell you that it was only recently that I read that more marijuana is consumed in New York City than any other city in the world. This is from a report, a study that was done by a company called Cedo, which manufactures a plant cultivation device. And the reason I mention marijuana is because I am quite excited tonight because I have not one guest but two, and both are super impressive guys, successful entrepreneurs and CEOs of companies that are in the cannabis business. Now, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the discussion with these guys, because last week's podcast was all about rosé, and I felt like the timing was like super, fortuitous, because we were heading into Memorial Weekend, which is kind of like rosé season, and my guest was Mitch Frank, who is the one of the editors over at Wine Spectator magazine, and he had written the cover story, so it's the current issue of Wine Spectator, all about rosé, so that was great. And if you want to hear it, by the way, this is quite exciting too, all of the podcasts, All You Can Eat, are not only available on SoundCloud and on YouTube and on Spreaker, but now all on iHeartRadio. So all you have to do is go to iHeart and search Rob Rosenthal, and you will find 13 podcasts archived so far, including last week's, and tomorrow you'll have tonight's. Very excited about that. And, last week episode was brought to you by the good people from Chateau La Gourdon, 2017 La Chapelle Gourdon, a Tête de Cuvée Rosé, 91-point rating, by the way, in Wine Enthusiast, very impressive, and a lovely wine. And this week I'm back with rosé, because the good folks from out east sent me a bottle. Now, you might have seen in the news that John Bon Jovi and his son just introduced a rosé out in the Hamptons, and the Hamptons is kind of famous for rosé now because you have that summer in a bottle, which is like the big thing out there. So Bon Jovi and his son just introduced I actually forget the name, something water, Hamptons water, something about the water. Anyway, it's beside the point. I'm actually drinking another brand that is based on kind of the Hamptons because it's called Out East, and I like it very much, and served some of it last night to a bunch of ladies who were in the neighborhood playing canasta, and they were excited. They just love this stuff. So Out East, thank you. The experts will tell you that it's dry, crisp, and brimming with bright mineral tension, whatever that means. Exceptional Provence Rosé features complex aromas of white peach, citrus zest, and wild red berries, lifted by the hints of white flowers and baking spices. None of that means anything to me. I'll tell you, you either like it or you don't, and I like Out East, so thank you for that. One final note for you, my friends, before we get into the show. And that is that Father's Day is soon approaching. And I can't think of a better gift for Dad than a book called Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free by yours truly. Well, now, when I did the book, I will say that it was, I like to say to people that I went to cooking school so that you don't have to. It was a way to teach guys especially, but anybody really, how to have fun in the kitchen, get the most taste with the fewest ingredients and the least effort. So if you're looking for a $13, I believe that's Amazon, kind of picked up the price a couple of dollars, but if you're looking for a nice, inexpensive, but totally helpful, reliable, fun book, pick up Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. It's on Amazon, it's on Walmart, Barnes & Noble. You can pretty much get it anywhere. And I'm really kind of proud that just a week ago, the good folks from Goodreads, a platform owned by Amazon, 65 million members on Goodreads. They go there to get book recommendations and to make recommendations. Anyway, their staff picked the books that they want to read this summer, and guess what? One of them was Short Order Dad. That's very exciting. Wow, big week. Got that going. iHeartRadio, and now on to tonight's show. So I mentioned that I had two guests, both successful entrepreneurs in the cannabis space. One is Joe Caruso, and Joe Caruso runs a company called Green Helix. We're going to be talking to him momentarily. And then later on in the episode, Ron Silver, who just launched today. This is what I love about the timing, man. Today's timing is working out well, this discussion of marijuana and cannabis. Ron Silver launched today a product called AZUCA. And I'll tell you what AZUCA is. It is a line of cannabis edibles. So we're going to talk to these guys. I want to say, by the way, speaking about timing, that this past Sunday morning I was watching, as I always do if I can, CBS Sunday morning, the Jane Pauley show there on CBS. First of all, it's easily I just love watching it. I hate missing that show. It's so great. But the feature story this past Sunday was called Seeing Green, Celebrities Selling Marijuana, right? And so I suppose it wasn't a surprise to see Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong fame. He was talking about his product, Chong Choice. You'll see some Willie Nelson, you'll see Snoop Dogg. I was impressed with Melissa Etheridge, who some of you may know from from her music. I've always been a fan, but she had cancer at some point. The only thing that was able to help her through the chemo treatments was cannabis. She has gone into the business, and one of the things I recall from the episode is that sells a cream that older women with arthritis will put on their hands. Again, it's a CBD infused cream. Older women who have arthritis and have difficulty doing their, knitting, that crocheting that they do, will literally put some cream on their hands at night, and they will put gloves on and wake up the following morning, and they're able to, do what they do, pain-free. So that happened this very week. I will also tell you that today is the first day of the Cannabis Congress at the Javits Center here in New York City. It's where basically everybody from the industry, the cannabis industry, kind of convenes for 2 or 3 days worth of lectures, panel discussions, etc., workshops on cannabis. So I really feel that our timing is like perfect to have this conversation. And in just doing a little bit of background homework, I did a quick check, and I'm gonna, if you don't mind, just gonna read a little bit of something here that you can pick up anywhere, like Wikipedia, for example. But the medical use of cannabis goes back thousands of years: China, India, Egypt, and it was popularized in Western medicine by an Irish physician whose name was William Brooke O'Shaughnessy. He introduces the drug in basically the 1830s when he was living in India. He brings it back with him, and it becomes popular throughout England, and then eventually throughout Europe and the United States. I'm still in the 1840s. By 1850, cannabis was entered into the United States pharmacopoeia, right? So as a treatment for, get this, they're using cannabis in those days as a treatment for neuralgia, tetanus, typhus, cholera, rabies, dysentery, alcoholism, opiate addiction, interestingly enough, leprosy, incontinence, etc., a whole number of disorders. And it's widely available in pharmacies and grocery stores throughout the latter half of the 19th century, including, by the way, that it is commonly sold in tincture form by some of the biggest drug companies in the world, whose names you know: Park Davis, Eli Lilly, E.R. Squibb, and Sons. Long story short is that by the end of the 19th century, it starts to decline kind of in value as a medicine for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that they figured out how to popularize opium. And also the syringe was invented. So between opium and a syringe, all of a sudden, there's less kind of need for or demand for cannabis and cannabis-related products. And then the recreational use starts to also diminish because you have these kind of sensationalist media reports that are going on, right? So it really further declines in use in this country with the passage of the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. You may be familiar with the name Harry Anslinger if you've ever seen the movie Reefer Madness, right? So it becomes basically a scourge. It's as if it's the word. It becomes a controlled substance, incidentally, in 1970, at the same level as heroin. I mean, it's nuts, right? It's even more serious, according to the Controlled Substance Act, which was signed into law by a guy named Richard Nixon, the president at the time, not one of our best presidents. It becomes signed as a controlled substance in 1970, even more serious than things like cocaine and PCP and methamphetamine and oxycodone, coincidentally. So, long story short, I guess that's impossible at this point. Now all of a sudden, we're back in. What do they call it? I'm going to ask Joe in a second what they call this kind of wave of, everywhere I look now, whether it's CBS or anywhere in the news. I literally bought stock today in a company that's now on the New York Stock Exchange called CGC. That's the symbol. It's the Canopy Growth Corporation, the Canadian-based company. They work in cannabis. It's to me right now, after rosé, the hottest thing around is cannabis, legal now, I believe, in 8 states and the District of Columbia, medicinally legal in 29 states. And I'm going to introduce you now to a guy named Joe Caruso. Joe, how are you?
How are you? And thanks so much for having me on.
Joe,
I really appreciate it, Rob.
I'm glad to have you on, and I'm really impressed with what you're doing. But before we talk about Green Helix specifically, tell people a little bit about your background, where you kind of grew up. I didn't mention, and I probably should have, Joe, that you're a guy who, before you got into this business, you're a serial entrepreneur. You have some time you spent as a finance guy on Wall Street. Tell people a little bit about your background.
No problem, with pleasure. I was born and raised in New York, like you, and I came up in a old school Italian household, and I had a father that was in finance, so I was exposed very early on to that. Went to university and then dropped out to pursue a dream in film, got into the Hollywood business for a while, and then switched gears to the family business, worked in finance on Wall Street at some banks, including UBS and Lehman Brothers, household names. Also did some other entrepreneurial ventures. 10 years ago, I was inspired by my wife and my best friend and muse to pursue my dreams of being a full-time entrepreneur. I've had the privilege and luck to be able to be involved in over 10 startups. And when I exited my last startup some 4 years ago, I was trying to figure out at that point what I was going to do when I grew up, so to speak. And I felt a real pull and passion for the green space for cannabis. And I took a trip out to Colorado and started formulating a plan, which started in cannabis, but ultimately went over to the other side in CBD.
Okay, so all right, so I am operating at the advantage of being ignorant. So I get to ask questions that are based on really not knowing anything. I get what you did, and I get that you were passionate for it. What is it like? Tell people about why what you're doing is important. I mean, what is it about CBD that works, that's important, and how it should be used, and that kind of thing.
So there is a lot of misconception. There's a lot of questions out there. A lot of people are not really sure. One of the biggest, most searched questions is, will CBD or cannabidiol, will that get you high? And as I've told many people, because Green Helix is not only a place where there's a retail experience, but far more important, we are a place to become educated. And we offer a lot of education and transparency around our products. We certainly encourage people to call in, to write in, ask as many questions as they can. I've been lucky enough to put a lot of smart people in the company that really understand the difference when you look at THC or cannabis. That is driven by THC, which will get too high. A lot of people know with the edibles and the vapes and rolling a joint like people used to do, and everything that is with this public stock that you just bought, that you had mentioned. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, there is CBD or cannabidiol. There is two different forms of it. There's a cannabis-derived CBD and there's a hemp-derived CBD. Green Helix is a full-on hemp-derived CBD. All of our products derive from the hemp plant, which is the cousin to cannabis. There is virtually no THC, so it's impossible to get high. And I went down that road. I just felt a deeper pull, because older people, you had mentioned about their older ladies who are doing crocheting and have arthritis and have pains in their hands. There are many, many uses for CBD, and what we zeroed in on was the fact that the anti-inflammatory property of the actual compound. While there are many, many benefits, the anti-inflammation property was what was most fascinating to me, because what many people may or may not know is the root to all degenerative diseases is inflammation.
Interesting.
So we wanted to focus on really helping people and providing a value-added service and a wellness company that could provide many things, whether it be our Green Helix line of supplements or Helix Beauty, which is the topicals, that one of which we have that you had mentioned, which is a oil or a salve that people can rub on spots in their body, their hands, their feet, their shoulders, joints, anywhere where there's stiffness or where there's pain for many, many different ailments and or wear and tear or a surgery. And then we have the pet products. And the pet products is for Baby Fix. And that was engineered to help animals with inflammation, with arthritis, with aggression, with being, as animals get older, they can't really sleep well, they don't interact with other animals well. So we found some interesting things to engineer to help animals as well.
Hey, Joe, I was checking out before here in New York at NYU, the Langone Medical Center. They've done some research, right? And they have concluded that they were using cannabidiol in like very specific scientific tests, and determined a statistically significant reduction in convulsive epileptic seizures among kids, right? So there's no question that the proof, the efficacy is there in the data. Do you also rely on kind of research to support the Green Helix products? Like, are you able to kind of measure their effectiveness?
Yes, and you have to be very, very careful with. We're at the dawn of the cannabis era. This is a blue ocean industry. It's just coming out of, to your point, it's been around for a lot longer than even the 19th century. There was rumors that they found traces of marijuana and cannabis in the tombs of the Egyptians. So it's been around for a very long time. We are very, very compliant, and I guess being a founder, being a CEO of this company, and being someone that grew up in finance, being compliant and adhering to all the rules and regulations is very, very important for us as a company. And we're always looking to science. We're always looking to listen to what the higher ups, so to speak, are saying, whether it be on the state level or on the federal level. And with us particularly, our kind of methodology is that for us, it's about transparency. We only use the highest quality of products, all natural, non-GMO, petrochemical free. With our beauty line, it's Leaping Bunny certified. We don't do animal testing. With our hemp products, they are state licensed and all natural and pure. We look at the soil testing. So when it comes to again, I think it's very important for any brand that wants to be offered the quality that a consumer is looking for, important to offer the transparency. For instance, we have our lab reports right online on our website, greenhelix.com.
Excellent.
And we offer our consumers the ability, when they're looking at our products, they can see right where the hemp came from. It's in the United States. There's the phone number of the laboratory. They can do their third-party diligence on us. Mm-hmm. And we feel that that's very fair in an industry where there's just information overload at this point, like many other things. And I feel that if you're going to be a brand and you're going to have the privilege, certainly in healthcare, which is what this really is, to help people, help animals, serve people, then you have that responsibility to have the transparency and to offer that, certainly for people nowadays.
I like it, Joe. Before I let you go, let's get a couple here. First of all, you mentioned the Green Helix. What's the website again that people would go to if they wanted to take a look at the product line?
It's green, the color, GREEN, Helix, HELIX as in X-ray, greenhelix.com. That's where they can find our universe of products. We have 25 products now available. We have our supplement line, which is supplements and tinctures. We have Helix Beauty, which has 8 products now for all topicals, helping people with pain and beauty. We actually yesterday were rated on Us Weekly as the number one of the hottest beauty products right now out there. Our Restoration Body Oil was ranked yesterday in Us Weekly. And we also have our Fur Baby Fix. And again, that is at greenhelix.com. We're also on Instagram at green.helix, and we're on Twitter and also Facebook.
Oh, very good. Hey, just selfishly, my beauty problem is my lack of beauty. Is there something I could put on my face that'll make me look better?
Yes, we just released our Luminous Face Oil, which is an anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant face oil, which is petrochemical free and non-GMO and all natural. And literally people have called it Botox in a bottle, and it will really make your face glow and feel youthful again and take away any puffiness or fine lines. And again, it's rehydrating, and it's also petrochemical free and antioxidant, which keeps away all the germs.
I don't know if you how closely you monitor the online sales, but I'm going to be ordering a case in about a half an hour. And pretty soon, yes, that's short order dad is going to get just a few years younger. I just love that. That's good, Joe. Joe, you said one other thing. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but somewhere I had read that there were two definitions of CEO. Do you remember what you said they were?
Yes. Well, there's one methodology of people thinking that you're chasing every.
It looks like I lost you. I am sorry about that, but this is not a show unless I have a complete technical breakdown. But what Joe was going to say, at least on one of the two definitions, was chasing every opportunity, CEO, and somewhere there's another one that he uses that's not necessarily chief executive officer. But anyway, here we are. Yes. Oh, there you are. You're back, Joe. I got the chasing every opportunity. Yes. What's the second one?
I was telling you that it's constantly enduring obstacles.
Oh, there we go. And you would know because that is the definition of being a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Caruso, Green Helix. I'm going to tell you this. First of all, Joe, I want to thank you because I think what you're doing is like super important. I'm a fan, and now I'm going on after the show and ordering something that's going to take some years off my face. That in alone is exciting to me as I sip rosé. Thank you for coming here. For anybody who's looking for the products, greenhelix.com. And thank you, my friend. Appreciate you being here with us.
Rob, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Joe.
Take care.
You too. Okay, now here's the next technical moment of excitement. If you boys back in the studio, Jimmy, want to give me a 30-second commercial, I'm gonna get Ron Silver on the line. Well, I'm gonna get him on the line one way or another, but you may hear a commercial in the interim. Come on in, Ron. Well, there you go. Wouldn't be complete, as I said, without there being some complete.
Hello?
Oh my God, this is unbelievable. It's just an unbelievable. First of all, welcome, Ron. It's a treat.
Robert, thank you so much for having me.
No, it's a treat to have you on. I was just about to endure my second complete technical wipeout, and then, like magically, you appeared. How you doing tonight?
I'm very well, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm halfway through podcast number 14. I just spent some time on the line with a guy named Joe Caruso, CEO of Green Helix. He's producing cannabis, cannabinoid, CBD products, but his, unlike yours, Ron, his are not meant to be ingested, and I'm telling you why I'm excited to talk with you, because I'm a food guy, and so are you. Let me tell people just briefly about you. Ron Silver is the chef and owner of a place down in New York City, multiple places, but it's called Bubby's. And by the way, I want to congratulate you even before we start this conversation, Ron, not just because of your introduction today of AZUCA, but because it seems to me that as I was watching episode number 10, season 3 of Billions the other day, was there not a scene that took place in your restaurant?
I think there was, yeah.
Well, that's big news if you ask me. So congratulations on that, first of all.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, Ron, I did a little homework, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not go to Cottonwood High School?
I did go to Cottonwood High School.
How is it possible? Why? Just out of curiosity, what were you doing growing up in Utah?
Well, my father decided that it would be good to move from New York City to Salt Lake City to sell shoes to young Mormon girls, women.
I want
in 1963.
Okay. Now, I want to just, and I hope this doesn't embarrass you in any way, but it's public information. If I were to go to your LinkedIn profile, Ron, what it says about Cottonwood High School, about your education is, in your words, kind of, comma, fields included skiing, marijuana, and dishwashing. Am I right about that?
That is true. All of that is true.
All right, so now let's do a couple of things. First of all, you launched a product today that seems to me, this whole show has been dedicated to, to the whole field of kind of cannabis, marijuana, CBD, and we're in the middle of an explosion, but I really feel as if you're bringing something new to the party. Tell people about what is AZUCA, AZUCA. AZUCA, how do you pronounce it?
Well, AZUCA is basically, it really starts off with, it's a series of building blocks, if you will. And I'll take a moment to explain it. So it starts off with a sort of a technology that makes it so the cannabis edible in our edibles are fast acting and a lot more absorbable in your body, bioavailable. And so basically, through a lot of research and study and stuff, I came up with a formula that makes it so it's a lot more understandable. And just to clarify, your normal edible take anywhere from 1 to 4 hours to kick in, and it could take, and your body could absorb anywhere between 2 and 6%, which is sort of a lot of variables if you really need it, especially if you're using it for medicine. And so with our formulation, the cannabis edibles kick in about 15 minutes, right, and your body absorbs anywhere from 18 to 22%.
Right. So this is the fast acting. So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So it's a fast acting cannabis edible, and what that does is it allows you to have a consistent dose, and it allows you to have a choice to have a very low dose, which is really an important thing if you are an 80-year-old woman and you really are not a cannabis taker, but it really does help you, and you want the choice to take 2.5 milligrams. Well, that sort of leads me to the next building block in the component, so we've taken this fast-acting technology and applied it to a series of sweeteners like sugar, maple sugar, date sugar, coconut sugar, and stevia, and agave. And basically, those sweeteners are, you can use them by themselves. So a teaspoon of sugar would be 10 milligrams, say.
Right.
And so if you wanted to take 2.5 milligrams, you could take a quarter of a teaspoon. And if you wanted to take 20 milligrams, you can take 2 teaspoons. And it's, it makes it so that you can really understand how much you're taking, and you may have different reasons for taking it. Maybe some people like to use a little bit of cannabis in the morning, and so maybe you just want to have, 5 milligrams in the morning, and at night you might want to have 10. So that's the next series of building blocks, are these sweeteners. And then we've taken it another step, and with these sweeteners we've made a series of syrups. And none of these are really out on the market quite yet, so this is what we're going to be going out with in, somewhere around July. But the syrups are made from the sugars, and with the syrups, and they're all very natural, like pomegranate, grapefruit, almond, orange, lemon, lime, and you can make drinks with those. And sort of know that at a party, for example, you could serve those drinks, and they're light enough in dosing, or you can choose your dose so that people can have 2 or 3 of those and not be completely dysfunctional or having a bad time. So, and then further than that, we can take those syrups and make candy with them and other things. So we really trying to build a system of ingredients that people can use to choose their dose and understand how long it's going to take to kick in, and to apply it in different ways and to have a certain amount of creativity with it. So they're like cannabis ingredients. And, just for an example of that, we're going to have a 2 milligram chocolate chip.
So a couple of things here is one is that when I heard you talking about the cocktails and the syrup, I thought to myself, I really got to get to whatever your next party is. That's just want to start with that.
You're welcome to come.
Thank you. Now, I would also say, Ron, that just to backtrack a little bit and to kind of bring people up to speed, I guess historically, from what I understand, the issue with well, first of all, even before we get into the issue with dosing and edibles, I just want to create a distinction between what you're doing and what Caruso is doing with his green Helix products, because his are all, CBD. Yours are going to be coming from the other side, from the THC side of the equation. So yours are in.
Well, no, we are launching pure CBD products in New York right now,
right,
and serving them in the restaurants, and they're pure CBD from hemp with zero THC, because that's all that's legal in New York.
Right.
In July, we're going to be launching in Massachusetts. Well, I sometime this summer.
Right.
I'm saying July because I'm hopeful and an eternal optimist, but sometime this summer we're going to be launching in Massachusetts, and that will be a full line of cannabis products and CBD products, which are sorely lacking on the market, by the way. High quality products in general, but especially addressing CBD, which is a very popular thing to consume.
Right. Okay. And historically, I guess where I was going was that the issue with THC based edibles is that one is dosing. You kind of don't necessarily know with a limited experience how much your body can tolerate. Number one, and then number two,
it's a lot to do with liver function. So every day you can eat the same dose and have a different experience every day, because it really has to be. Dealt with in your liver.
Yeah, so you have that issue, and then you also have, as to what your point is, you have the issue of how long it's going to take to kick in, which either is predicated on your liver or some other biofunction. But the point is, you in introducing what it is that you're introducing here with AZUCA, you're basically saying that the advantage is that it's fast acting. You are going to know within 15 minutes or a half an hour what your kind of level of highness is, for lack of a better description, versus what has happened historically, which is you kind of take it and wait and see, and then people get impatient, think that nothing is happening, and they take more than they really should.
Yes, this really alleviates that problem directly.
And so to reiterate what it is that you've said in terms of the building blocks, you have kind of set it up in such a way. I love how you explained it as kind of like a system, because it seems to me that it's kind of user friendly, not only in terms of this whole discussion about dosage, but further, when you want to make something else with it, you're going to supply kind of the product that allows you to put it either in a drink or to make your brownies. You've done all kind of the advanced work, if you will.
Absolutely, it's really ready to plug and play. It's very easy to use, and in fact, our products are really applicable in not only in retail products, but very much in white label products to other manufacturers, because we really cut out several steps. One of them is finding quality product, which is always difficult. Secondly, we have lab tested products, so they're cutting out 2 lab tests, because the final product, it's each lab test could take 3 or 4 weeks, depending on where you are, and so our product really helps a small manufacturer to alleviate a bunch of problems that they might have.
So where do you source the quality product from? I mean, that you can talk about.
Well, I mean, we really only work with fully legal, but most importantly, trusted partners who really only have the most high quality product. And that's what one of the reasons that we are not out on the market yet is because we've been very selective about who we want to work with, and making sure that person's going to still be that company is still going to be around in a year, because it's a very dodgy business.
Are you surprised at all? I don't even know if that's the right question, but what do you make of kind of? I mean, it's strange for me, basically, like everything trend-wise is moving, it seems to me, in one direction. You're seeing more states legalize both the recreational use as well as medicinal use. You see also a huge change in kind of like the general population's attitude about the, if not legalization, certainly decriminalization of marijuana. I really think that the only thing kind of almost in the way at this point is Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, but he's got way bigger problems than this right now. Am I right that this expansion that we're seeing and this growth that we're seeing is essentially an inevitability, or is that kind of an overstatement?
I mean, I feel it's an inevitability. I feel like there's no way to put the cat back in the bag, and I would say that all of these municipalities want to participate in the revenues. Although, there's certainly, like, if you look at California, they really have to readjust what they're doing because they sort of overstep their bounds. And so I think everybody's trying to figure it out. And I think that it's absolutely going that way.
What was it, you're a guy who is known for restaurants, more than one here in New York, and if I'm not mistaken, you have some in other parts of the world, no?
I have 7 restaurants in Japan.
Right, exactly. Well, by the way, just out of curiosity, how did that come to pass?
Well, there was going to be a great celebration of Commodore Perry, the 150th anniversary of Commodore Perry pulling 5 boats into Yokohama Harbor, saying that if they didn't open up for trade, they were going to blast them. So for some reason, they were celebrating that. It opened up the West to Japan, and they wanted to have an American restaurant that wasn't Denny's, right in the middle of this giant plaza. And so, I was happy to do it. And it really was only meant to last a year, and it turned into 7 restaurants and great friendships.
I love a story like that because it's also reminiscent of what happened with kind of Shake Shack. It's like it's that same idea that you open something on kind of for one reason, and the next thing you know, it kind of kicks in and takes off and becomes its own, takes on a life of its own. No,
that's true. Yeah,
and so you're a guy from the food business and a chef and a successful restaurateur. What kind of prompted you to add this onto your resume? This whole let me get into the cannabis business.
Well, I mean, first of all, I know about cannabis up and down, and I've been using cannabis since I was 13 years old.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the LinkedIn thing.
And so it is something that I've championed it, I've grown it, I've consumed it, I've given it out to people for free who are sick, and I've really, it's been a big part of my life. And really, when I sort of started poking around in the cannabis industry as it was sort of forming maybe 4 years ago, I just sort of asked a bunch of people who were really in it at the time what the biggest problem was in the cannabis industry, and really every single one of them said that a controllable low-dose edible would be the biggest solution to the biggest problem. So I just, literally went out with that idea in mind to sort of address the biggest problem in cannabis edibles.
And you were able to figure out, if I have this right, how to make it more water soluble. Is that correct?
That's right. So this process makes it more water soluble, hydrophilic, and which makes it so that it absorbs into your esophagus and your digestive system before it has to go through your liver function, which is why it kicks in so quickly.
And you have a patent pending on that, am I right?
We have 3 patents pending on that.
Oh man, if this were Shark Tech, Ron, trust me, I'd be in.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm serious about that. Well, I'll tell you what, before I shift gears with you, I guess my other question for you is going to be, where do people, direct people to how they're going to find out about the company and the product? What's the best place for us to send people to learn about AZUCA?
Well, that is a very good question. We have what I would call a website in development with a landing page and some place for people to give us their information, which is azuca.co, AZUCA.co.
Okay, good. All right,
that's probably the best thing at the moment, and we're really, we should have a lot of these things together in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I'm glad I caught you early. Are you going to be showing up at all at this cannabis congress that's taking place at the Javits Center here in the city this week?
No.
Okay. I won't be seeing you there then, I guess.
Well, I hope you enjoy yourself there. It should be very interesting.
Yeah, I actually went to one of the early ones, and part of the reason I was checking in on this one is to see what's happened over the last 2 or 3 years, because there has been a veritable explosion of interest and certainly products. And I was saying earlier, it's not the first time that I have spent my own personal money investing in stocks that are on the that are actually sold on the stock market. So I'm certainly a fan of the development. I am also a food guy, and I'm curious about 2 or 3 things. Have you had dinner yet, Ron?
Well, I think I'm bypassing dinner this evening. I had a late lunch, and a very good one.
What did you do for lunch today?
Well, my office is in the meatpacking district, and across the street is a restaurant called Santina. So I went over there and had lunch with my partner today.
I like it. Can you reveal your menu item of choice?
I had spaghetti with blue crab, and we had some sautéed mushrooms.
I like it, and I always like to ask professional chefs: do you cook at home with some regularity?
I cook whenever I possibly can, which is pretty often. Yeah. Especially if I'm on vacation, with my family, then I cook all the time, and I also cook breakfast every morning.
Oh yeah, that's excellent. I swear to you that I am exactly the same as you on everything that it is that you just said. I'm in charge of the breakfast and cook every opportunity that I have. What is your kind of like? I always ask people, especially professionals, what is their kind of recommendation for a dish that they make with the most taste, fewest ingredients, and the least effort?
Well, I would say the answer to that right now, strawberry shortcake.
Do you actually Well, you're a kind of a super professional. I mean, do you actually bake the cake, or do you buy one of those pre?
No. I bake it's a cream biscuit, so it's very easy. It's like 5 ingredients. You can make little mini biscuits. It takes about literally 18 minutes from start to finish. Cut up some strawberries and some whipped cream, and you're rolling.
Ron, I'm going to assume you make your own whipped cream. Some heavy cream, ice cold bowl, maybe some powdered sugar, a little bit of vanilla.
Well, I don't use vanilla, but I use a teeny bit of sugar, and I prefer to just use cream and then have the sweetness come from the strawberries, which I also like to macerate.
Right.
In so the strawberries, I'll cut them up and sprinkle some sugar on there and let them sit at room temperature with a little bit of lemon juice for an hour or so, and then refrigerate them for an hour or so.
I'm with you all the way, and I must admit that I'm a guy that likes to macerate as well. So we got that going.
All right. Well, that's personal information.
Well, hey, I mean, everybody's got their own berries and their own formula for making them.
That's right.
Well, anyway, I got to say, Ron, it was a treat to talk to you. I love what you're doing, both in terms of restaurants and in this business here. I think it's a huge idea. I wish you the greatest success, and I'm happy to help you any way that I can. And as I was telling people earlier in the show, this is going to be our little podcast here, which is live now. It ends up being archived kind of all over the internet globe, if you will. It'll be on Spreaker, YouTube, SoundCloud, and now on iHeartRadio. So you and I, in this conversation, lives on in perpetuity. But anyway, congratulations, not for the appearance on Billions, but on introducing AZUCA, because I think it's a great idea, and it's the right time, and I really wish you the best of luck, and thank you 1,000-fold for hanging out with me for a half an hour to talk about it.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
All right.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, I'm back, live, New York, talking your cannabis and your THC and your CBD. I feel really good about that. I feel good about what these guys are doing. Two, like, successful entrepreneurs who have gotten into this business not because they are here to capitalize on a fad, on a trend. That would be an easy thing to do, but it's not what they did. Joe Caruso with Green Helix is delivering products that make people feel better, that take away pain and inflammation. I mean, it's just a lovely thing to do, and it's great. And here, Ron Silver, who didn't have to. He's got a successful operation, Bubby's, B-U-B-B-Y', terrific diner. But as he was saying, it's not a diner like This is like the diner that you want it to be. It's been popular here in the city forever, 20-odd years, maybe more. If I had the menu in front of me, I would. I mean, it's the kind of place you go for comfort food. Anyway, Ron also gets into this business, again, not to capitalize, but rather because there was an opportunity. And all entrepreneurialism is predicated on solving a problem. And so when Ron just instinctively decided to get into this business, the question that you heard him ask people was, what's the kind of the problem in this space? And part of the problem was that there was not a reliable, consistent, high-quality deliverable to get your cannabis from an edible product. And there he has developed it, AZUCA, as he would say, kind of what did he say? It was a system. Fantastic. And so that'll become available, and I think that that's important and good. So let me go back to the very outset of the program to remind you of a couple of things. My thanks to the people from out east for their fine dry, crisp, brimming with bright mineral tension. I'm kidding about that, but it is all lovely. Out east is a terrific rosé, as is my Chateau La Gourdon 2017, La Chapelle Gourdon Tête de Cuvée Rosé. Nice rating in Wine Enthusiast, by the way. And both of these bottles are going to run you in the $20, $23, $24 price range. Affordable, good, delicious. Rosé is super hot right now. We're in rosé prime time. And it's the same thing, by the way, if the other hot item in the United States of America right now is cannabis, and that's why we spent the night talking about it. Father's Day, I'm asking you, don't worry, I ain't making a fortune. I'm just going to tell you folks that with Father's Day upcoming, the greatest, I don't like to hype or BS. It's not the greatest. What you can do is you can pick yourself up a copy of Short Order Dad and give it to the men in your life. I have written it to show guys in a fun way how to cook, which means that it's not just a series of recipes, but rather this is what you need to know about kind of the 10 basic cooking techniques. These are the tools that you should have in the kitchen. These are the best ingredients to keep in your pantry. And then the recipes, of which there are 100, are simple, most taste, fewest ingredients, least effort, which is why I asked that question. I would say of the 100 recipes, 95 of them are basically using 5 ingredients. So anybody can do this. Short Order Dad available for you. I will be back next week, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, with All You Can Eat. It's the podcast coming to you live from New York City, New York, with me, Rob Rosenthal. And until next week, remember, my friends, life is short. So never waste a meal. Good night.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on